Okay, I've gotten a lot of requests on how to build a survival bow. So today, we're gonna go into the woods. We're gonna find a privet or ligustrum tree that has a straight enough portion to make a great bow out of. We're gonna cut it down, and then I'll show you the next step. Leaves are gonna be dark green, waxy, and oval shaped. Stalks are gonna be very, very straight in general. It's a dead giveaway if you look at the base and there's a bunch of straight shoot ups. And then you just find those waxy leaves and you can be double sure. And now we just make our way through the woods, searching for the perfect one. I'll let you know when I find it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes finding a suitable stave is kind of the most time consuming part. So be prepared to look around sometimes for a while. Okay, I think we got her. Privet ligustrum, straight stalks, more than enough length. And I'm gonna choose the one on the left. It's hard to tell what the actual diameter is, but it's probably 2 to 3 inches, and I think that's about perfect. And it's got a nice straight section so that we'll be able to get a full length stave out of there. All right, so I was clearing out some of the area around the tree. Almost broke my ankle. Let me show you this thing. Look at this. Big ass den just comes out of nowhere. Handy dandy. Handy dandy number 2. All right, so normally when you cut these down, they have kind of a pale cross section. Let me show you the cross section on this one and why I'm a little concerned. You see how dark that is? There could be some rot already kind of setting in. If you put your fingers on freshly cut wood, it should feel kind of cold because there's moisture in it. And it does feel cold, but not as cold as I was expecting. So this is a great stave. I mean, you can see how straight it is. We'll still try to make a bow out of it just so it doesn't go to waste. Because it is spring, this next part should be pretty easy, but I just want you to remove the outer layer with either a cabinet scraper. I'm gonna use a knife, probably a combination of a cabinet scraper, but just go and get rid of this outer portion. You see how easy it kind of flakes off? I want you to do that to the whole thing. It's about as far as I want you to get for day one. I'm curious, I gotta check. I gotta know today. It looks like the pith took up some sort of infection and it started spreading throughout that wood. We might be able to salvage this.
I'm using the hatchet here just to make sure I can get underneath that layer of potential infection.
Epic time saver right here. This guy is so sharp.
Not only does this remove wood in a hurry, but it makes it plainer.
All right, so huge relief. Let me show you why. With the red handled draw knife, we got after it. We've already got it through the bad area, and now you can start to see some of that natural grain.
Just taking off a little bit more wood here.
Okay, you see this different texture right there? That's called the pith. That marks the center point of the stave if you're looking at it from the cross section. It's not actually always the center, but it will be the concentric center from which all the other rings go out from.
The natural grain of the stave does twist, so I'm being careful as I carve away to keep everything straight.
So we've got it pretty well thinned out. And then if you work your way down the stave, you can see a really nice grain structure appearing. And then it kind of twists where that rod is. You're gonna use the hatchet for the next part?
I'm using a hatchet here because it allows you to more easily counter propeller twist than a draw knife. And you can always follow it up with a draw knife and make things nice and pretty.
This is the only time I'm gonna be using a pencil or a ruler or anything. Obviously, if you're in a survival situation, you wouldn't have either of these, but you might have some paracord or something that you could just measure the length in paracord, fold it in half, and then there's your center point. But for me, I've got a ruler handy, so I'm just gonna use that. I'm roughly 72. It's actually 73, so we're gonna do 36.5. Why are we marking the center? Because I like to keep my handles a little thicker if I can. All right, let me show you what we're working with. Man, it doesn't matter what kind of wood I'm working with. I am a sucker for grain structure. Okay, so goal for day 2 is thumbs thickness running all the way up until you reach your handle. We're gonna try to leave a little more girth on where the handle section is, but thumbs thickness all the way up on both limbs, and then you're good for day 2. Like and subscribe to continue with the process. Let's see how far we get tomorrow. All right, welcome to day 3. The first thing we're gonna do is see how everything's bending. Keep in mind this is a green piece of wood. We need to take more off this side. Okay, so before we take any more meat off thickness-wise, we're gonna kind of narrow our limbs so that down at the limb tips, we're at about 1/2 inch. And I like to kind of start my narrowing about 14 inches up. Okay, here's what one side looks like after we've kind of narrowed it down. Has a real cool look because you can see some of the sapwood on the sides and then the heartwood. But see the same thing to the other side. Okay, so on this side you can see we removed a lot of the sapwood from the sides, kind of made it a more rectangular cross section. Now you're not really gonna have any straight edges or anything, so you gotta use your eyes a lot. But it really helps to look down things like you would a pool cue to make sure they're straight. Let's try to thin that handle out a little bit. We still got a lot to work with here. We're gonna come in from this side and then I'll flip it around. I'll come in from the other side. We're gonna feather the handle. I want it to be slightly thinner than that. I do want to take it in more right here as well. Check, see how she's bending. It's starting to come together. The right hand side is cut in a little bit more, so I need to cut in the left hand side, just narrow that out. Okay, let's check the tiller one more time. It's not bad. Now just around the handle and stuff, you see some of these marks. I did round it out with the Farrier's rasp. If you're out in the wilderness or something, just find a porous rock and you could do the same thing. Okay, so right now as things are, I could cut string grooves, put a string on this and shoot some arrows or flop some arrows out there. I could probably kill some rabbits and small game, squirrels, that kind of stuff. Technically survival bow, but I like to take things to the next level so that if it is a long-term survival situation, you would be able to potentially rely on this to take down deer, hogs, some larger game. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode so you can see how to take this to the next level. Okay, so you can see we're well on our way with the bow, but if you look, almost as tall as I am. Okay, so we're gonna be cutting off about 3 inches off each end. What's the purpose of that? It's just gonna kind of lighten up the load of the limb itself. It'll make for a faster bow in the end. It also gives us a little bit of extra width to work with so that if we want to move the limb tip either to the left or the right on either side so that limb tip, and center handle line up perfectly, we can do that. Let's see how she's bending. It's not bad. I think it's time to cut in some string grooves. Gonna be using a little wood carving knife for doing the string grooves. I'm just gonna do the same thing, other side. A pretty regular thing to have on like a camping trip or survival trip would be braided fishing line. If you take some 40-pound or 60-pound braid and you weave it together like you would braid your hair and just tie some knots, it works really great. The feet per second is actually almost identical to if you use real bowstring. Let's just get this thing strung up, see what she's doing. Wow, not bad for just eyeballing it. Legit first shots. If this wasn't green wood, I would not be able to pull this back. This would be like close to a 160-pound bow or something. All the extra moisture in here is absorbing any noise that there would be. Look at this group. This is the first 4 shots ever out of that bow. This was the first shot, second shot, third shot, fourth shot. You could leave this bow exactly as is, so survival bow 1.0, and just hunt with it every single day, and just know that throughout the month, you're gonna be losing moisture, and that bow is only gonna get faster, and it's only gonna get more draw weight. So you might end up having to thin the limbs. But that's another way to add some speed if you're a little bit more of a patient man. Okay, now for survival bow 2.0, show you tomorrow. If I wanted to, I could hunt with this bow right now, but I promise you guys version 2.0 today, and that's gonna involve the use of heat. So we gotta make a fire. Version 1.0, couple shots. Not bad. Take the string off, and before this next part, any of the set that's in there, I want you to just gently kind of push down on the back side of the bow and just straighten that out. Because it's green wood, you're gonna be able to. Don't push too hard though. If you hear any cracking, you're doing it wrong. Perfectly straight, we're ready for the next step. Okay, we're gonna take this little crap ton of wood shavings that we have that would be perfect to start a fire, put it in the fire pit. If you're out in the wild, do it on the ground. So we either want embers or coals. We don't want open flame. Okay, fire's going. Now we wait. Almost to the good stuff. You just want one flat bed. I didn't want to be sitting around here all day with this thing cooking all the way up here. So I'm gonna kind of speed dry it. We might end up scorching a little bit of the surface, but we're gonna keep a real keen eye on it. Okay, be sure to check this often so you can compare limb to limb. When you get to a certain point, you're just gonna want to kind of personally control it. You just kind of let it sit there. You rotate, you check it, make sure it looks pretty similar to this side. Rotate the other side. You never touch the back. You make your back brittle, then your bow's done. Yep, let's let her dry. And by dry, I mean cool down. Maybe do some light sanding. Let's get a gauge on what we're dealing with here. Let's check the tiller. Holy cow, that added a lot of poundage. I think we tried to string it. One of you guys in the last video asked what I did with the limb tips. I just kept them real basic, dude. Just carved in. Carved on one side, carved on the other side, made a little point. We added so much power. Survival bow 2.0, shot 1. I promise you survival bow 2.0. I think I delivered. Drop in the comments what you want me to make next. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. See you guys tomorrow. So you're not gonna be able to tell, but this is survival bow 3.0. So what the hell's the difference? Well, it all started with a little thing called fungi, which was causing spalding right in the handle section. And you remember when we heated it, the crack was developing farther and deeper. We ended up having to cut out, with our wood carving knife, a huge divot right out of there. Boom, 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 boom. Just a V-shaped Grand Canyon running right through the handle. Now I know what you're thinking. You just destroyed your bow because now there's no integrity in the handle. But let me show you something. It's not primitive, but it sure as hell works. EA40 2-part clear epoxy adhesive. You mix these two together, you get a large enough volume to fill that void completely. And then you let that rest and cure for 24 hours, and let me show you the results. Obviously, the epoxy is not gonna dry completely smooth, and you are gonna have to use, I actually used a metal file and some rough sandpaper. I think it's 150 and 180 grit, but you end up that's why we're calling this 3.0, because it's actually gonna hold together. And that spalding is not going to cause the death of our bow. Huge void that was filled. And you can see that epoxy just doing work, but it's so smooth. and it just blends right in. And the thing about this epoxy is that it's slightly malleable, so you don't have to worry if you're drawing your bow back that it's gonna crack or become brittle or anything like that. So it's perfect. Okay, comment if it's just me, but I swear she got quieter as well. So the increase from Survival Bow 1 to Survival Bow 2 had to do with power. The increase from Survival Bow 2 to 3 has to do with silence and efficiency and longevity. Pretty cool. Okay, it's just insane, guys. I mean, I'm blown away by how accurate this thing is. Check this out. I mean, that's 5 shots with the trad bow, all almost in the heart of a mini deer from probably 15 yards away. Let's throw one distance shot in there. This is about 30 yards. Easy mode. On a very genuine note, thank you so much for the recent influx of support for the channel and the bow making series. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you guys. And as always, please like and subscribe. I'll do my best to see you tomorrow.